At her wedding, everyone thought she was smiling because she had finally made her ex jealous. But when she looked into her new husband's eyes and whispered, "I think I actually love you," she realized the revenge plan had become something neither of them expected. The wedding dress fit perfectly. Every stitch, every bead, every delicate fold of ivory silk hugged her body like it was made for this moment. And it was. Naomi Carter had spent 3 weeks finding this dress. She had visited 11 boutiques across Atlanta. She had tried on 47 gowns before settling on this one. But standing in the bridal suite, staring at her reflection in the floor-length mirror, she felt nothing close to joy. Her makeup was flawless. Her hair was swept into an elegant updo with soft curls framing her face. Her skin glowed deep brown and luminous under the soft lighting. She looked like a bride from a magazine cover. And none of it was real. This wedding was not about love. It was not about finding her soulmate or starting a beautiful life with someone who cherished her. This wedding was a carefully calculated performance. A chess move dressed in white lace. Naomi adjusted her veil and practiced her smile. It looked convincing enough. It would photograph well. And, most importantly, it would reach him. Damon Pierce would see these pictures. He would watch her walk down that aisle toward another man. And he would finally understand what he lost. That was the plan. That was the only thing that mattered. 3 months earlier, Naomi had been a different woman. She had been in love. Completely, foolishly, dangerously in love with a man who made her feel like the center of his universe. Damon Pierce was everything she thought she wanted. Tall, handsome, successful. A real estate developer with properties across the city and ambitions that stretched even further. When he walked into a room, people noticed. When he spoke, people listened. And when he chose Naomi, she felt like she had won something precious. They dated for 2 years. She gave him everything. Her time, her energy, her heart. She showed up at his events, looking perfect on his arm. She laughed at his jokes, even when they were not funny. She dimmed parts of herself that he found inconvenient, telling herself that compromise was part of love. Then came the charity gala. Naomi had been looking forward to it for weeks. She had bought a new dress, a deep emerald green that made her skin glow. She had gotten her hair done. She had cleared her schedule entirely. But the morning of the event, Damon called with regret in his voice. "I cannot make it tonight," he said. "Work, emergency, a deal falling through. You understand." She understood. She always understood. So she stayed home, ordered takeout, and scrolled through social media while wearing sweatpants instead of emerald silk. That was when she saw the photos. Damon at the gala. Damon smiling for cameras. Damon with his hand on the lower back of a woman who was not Naomi. A tall, slender woman with honey-colored skin and a designer dress that probably cost more than Naomi's monthly rent. They looked comfortable together. They looked like they belonged together. Naomi's hands trembled as she kept scrolling. More photos. More smiles. More evidence of a lie she had been too blind to see. She called him immediately. He answered on the 4th ring, and she could hear music and laughter in the background. "Naomi, what is wrong?" "I saw the pictures," she said. Her voice was steady, even though her heart was cracking. "Who is she, Damon?" Silence. A long, guilty silence that told her everything she needed to know. When he finally spoke, he did not apologize. He did not explain. He attacked. "You are always doing this," he said. "Always making something out of nothing. Always being so emotional, so exhausting. This exactly why I needed a break tonight. I needed to breathe without you suffocating me." Naomi felt the words land like blows. Suffocating. Exhausting. Was that how he saw her? Was that what her love felt like to him? I think we need to end this, Damon continued. His voice was calm now, almost relieved. I need someone lighter, Naomi. Someone who does not drain me. He hung up before she could respond. Naomi sat in her apartment for 3 hours without moving. The takeout grew cold. The television played something she did not hear. And slowly, the shock transformed into something harder. Something sharper. Humiliation. She had given him 2 years. She had reshaped herself to fit into his life. And he had thrown her away like she was nothing. 2 weeks later, the humiliation deepened into something unbearable. Damon was engaged. Naomi saw the announcement on Instagram. A photo of him and the woman from the gala, her hand extended to show off a diamond ring that caught the light perfectly. The caption read, "She said yes," with 3 heart emojis. 3 heart emojis. That was all it took to replace 2 years. Naomi's friends called with condolences. Her mother called with concern. Her sister called with rage. But Naomi did not want comfort or anger. She wanted something else entirely. She wanted revenge. That Friday, she met Marcus Webb for their weekly dinner. They had been best friends since college, back when she was a struggling design student, and he was a basketball player with more heart than talent. 10 years of friendship. 10 years of inside jokes and late-night phone calls, and showing up for each other without question. Marcus listened while she vented. He always listened. He sat across from her at their usual table in their usual restaurant, his large hands wrapped around a glass of water while she worked through her second glass of wine. "I just cannot believe he moved on that fast," she said. "Like I never mattered. Like those 2 years were nothing." "They were not nothing," Marcus said quietly. "You mattered, Naomi. You still matter." But she was not listening. The wine was loosening her tongue, and a reckless idea was forming in her mind. "You know what would serve him right," she said. "If I moved on faster. If I showed up somewhere with a ring on my finger and a husband on my arm. Let him see how quickly someone else chose me." Marcus raised an eyebrow. "You want to find a husband in 2 weeks?" Naomi laughed bitterly. "I would marry you if I could." Just to see the look on his face. The words were a joke. At least, they were supposed to be. But something flickered across Marcus's face. Something she could not quite read. His expression shifted, then settled, then shifted again. "Okay," he said. Naomi froze with her wine glass halfway to her lips. "What? If that is what you need, I am in." She laughed again, but his face remained serious. "Marcus, I was kidding." "I know," he said, "but I am not. 1 year. We get married. You get your revenge. Then we annul. No harm done." Naomi stared at him. This was Marcus. Steady, reliable, always there for her Marcus. The man who had talked her through panic attacks before final exams. The man who had helped her move 4 times without complaining. The man who had held her hair back after her 21st birthday went sideways. He was offering to marry her. "Why?" she asked. "Why would you do this for me?" Marcus shrugged, but something in his eyes looked heavy. "Because you are my best friend, and because I hate seeing you hurt." Naomi should have said no. She should have recognized the absurdity of the plan and the potential for everything to go wrong. But the wine was warm in her veins, and the humiliation was still fresh in her chest, and the thought of Damon seeing her wedding photos was too satisfying to resist. "Okay," she said. "Let us do it." They set rules. Separate bedrooms. No romantic expectations. Public appearances to sell the illusion, but private lives would remain unchanged. After 1 year, they would quietly end it and go back to being friends. It was a business arrangement, nothing more. 3 weeks later, Naomi stood in a courthouse wearing a simple white dress. No guests except her mother, who watched with suspicious eyes, and Marcus's younger brother, who served as witness. Marcus wore a navy suit that made his broad shoulders look even broader. When he saw her walk in, his face softened into something that looked almost like wonder. But Naomi was too focused on her phone, checking to make sure her photographer was ready to capture images for social media. The ceremony was brief. The vows were standard. When the officiant pronounced them husband and wife, Marcus leaned in and kissed her cheek instead of her lips. Even that small contact sent an unexpected warmth through her. After the courthouse, Marcus handed her a small bouquet. Not roses or lilies, sunflowers, bright and golden, and absolutely her favorite. "You remembered," she said softly. "Of course I remembered." He said it like forgetting was impossible. There was also a card tucked among the stems. She opened it and read his handwriting. Neat and careful. "To new beginnings, even the unexpected ones." Something stirred in Naomi's chest. Something inconvenient. She pushed it down immediately. This was not real. She could not afford to forget that. Their first night as a married couple was quiet. Marcus lived in a 2-bedroom apartment in a tree-lined neighborhood. It was clean and warm and filled with evidence of who he was. Trophies from his high school coaching achievements, photos of his youth basketball team, a worn Bible on the coffee table. Naomi noticed that he had cleared space in the closet for her clothes. He had bought her favorite tea and placed it in the cabinet at eye level. He had even set up a small desk near the window where she could work on her design projects. "You did not have to do all this," she said. Marcus shrugged. "I wanted you to feel at home." Home. The word felt strange, applied to this situation, but looking around at the space he had prepared for her, Naomi felt something loosen in her shoulders, something that had been tight for weeks. Maybe this would not be so bad. The weeks that followed were quiet and unexpectedly gentle. Marcus left for the high school early each morning, but he always made breakfast before he went. Sometimes it was eggs and toast. Sometimes it was oatmeal with fruit. Always there was a fresh pot of coffee waiting for her. He remembered that she hated mushrooms and picked them out of takeout orders without being asked. He remembered that she could not sleep with noise, so he wore headphones when watching game tape late at night. He remembered that she got anxious before client meetings, so he would text her simple words of encouragement on those mornings. "You have got this. They will love your work. Call me if you need to talk." Naomi found herself looking forward to his texts. She found herself listening for his key in the lock at the end of each day. She found herself laughing more than she had in months. One evening, she came home to find him cooking dinner. Not ordering dinner. Actually, cooking. He stood at the stove in a faded college t-shirt, stirring something that smelled incredible. "What is this?" she asked. "Jerk chicken," he said. "My grandmother's recipe. Thought you might like a home-cooked meal." Naomi watched him move around the kitchen with surprising grace for such a large man. His hands were confident as he chopped vegetables and adjusted seasonings. There was a small smile on his face, like cooking brought him genuine joy. She thought about Damon. In 2 years, he had never cooked for her. Not once. He had taken her to expensive restaurants and ordered wine that cost more than groceries. But he had never stood in a kitchen and made something with his own hands just because he thought she might like it. "This is really good," she said after the first bite. Marcus grinned. "Do not sound so surprised." "I'm not surprised. I am impressed. There is a difference." He laughed, and the sound filled the apartment with warmth. Naomi realized she could not remember the last time her living space had felt this full. If you are enjoying this story, take a moment to hit that subscribe button. Trust me, you will want to be here for what happens next. 1 month into the arrangement, Naomi received a phone call that changed everything. Her father was dead. The man who had walked out when she was 12. The man who had missed every birthday, every graduation, every milestone that mattered. The man who had left her mother to raise 2 daughters alone while he started a new family in another state. He had died of a heart attack in his sleep. His other wife had found the number and called out of obligation. Naomi did not know how to feel. She was not sad, exactly, but she was not relieved either. She felt hollow, like someone had scooped out an organ she did not know she still needed. She came home that evening and sat in the dark living room. She did not cry. She did not move. She just sat there, staring at nothing, trying to understand the strange weight in her chest. Marcus found her like that when he came home. He did not turn on the lights. He did not ask questions. He simply sat down beside her on the couch and waited. Minutes passed, maybe an hour. Finally, Naomi spoke. "My father died." Marcus was quiet for a moment. "I am sorry. I do not know why it hurts," she whispered. "I hated him. He abandoned us. He did not deserve my tears." Marcus turned toward her, and even in the darkness, she could feel his attention like something solid. "You do not have to forgive him to feel loss," he said slowly. "You are not mourning him. You are mourning what should have been, the father he could have been, the relationship you deserved, but never got." Something cracked inside her. The tears came suddenly, violently, years of buried grief flooding out in waves she could not control. She had not cried when her father left. She had not cried when he missed her college graduation. She had not cried when she heard he had other children who got the father she never had. But now, in this dark living room, with Marcus's steady presence beside her, she finally let herself break. He held her through all of it. His arms were strong and warm, and asked for nothing in return. He did not offer platitudes or solutions. He simply let her feel everything she had been holding back for 16 years. She fell asleep against his chest. When she woke up the next morning, she was in her own bed, and there was a glass of water and 2 aspirin on the nightstand. Marcus never mentioned that night. He never made her feel weak for breaking down. He just continued being exactly who he was, steady, present, real. And Naomi began to realize that somewhere along the way, the walls around her heart had started to crack. Their marriage became public knowledge gradually. Photos from a gallery opening, pictures from one of Marcus's games, tagged posts from a mutual friend's birthday party. The response was overwhelmingly positive. Naomi's followers commented on how happy she looked. Her colleagues asked about her mysterious husband. Her sister called to say that Marcus had always been the better choice, and why had it taken her so long to see it? But there was one response that Naomi had been waiting for. Damon started liking her posts. Just the photos where she looked particularly happy, or particularly beautiful, or particularly in love with the man beside her. Then came the text message. "You look happy. We should catch up." Naomi stared at a long time. This was what she had wanted. This was the entire point of the arrangement. Damon was jealous. Damon was curious. Damon was regretting his decision. She should have felt triumphant. Instead, she felt strangely empty. That evening, she showed Marcus the message. She expected him to smile, to congratulate her on the plan working perfectly. Instead, his jaw tightened. His expression shuttered. "Do what you want, Naomi. You do not need my permission." His voice was flat, cool, nothing like the warmth she had grown accustomed to. "Marcus." She reached for his arm, but he was already moving toward his bedroom. "I have game tape to review." He closed the door behind him, and Naomi stood alone in the living room, confused by the ache in her chest. What had she done wrong? She replayed the conversation in her head. She had just shown him A text. She had just shared information. Why had he reacted like she had hurt him? Unless. The thought formed slowly, reluctantly, like something she had been refusing to see. Unless this arrangement meant something different to him. The next day, Naomi agreed to meet Damon for coffee. She told herself it was for closure. She told herself she needed to see him one final time to prove that she was over him. She told herself a lot of things. Damon was waiting at a corner table in an upscale cafe. He stood when she walked in, and she had to admit he still looked good. Expensive suit, perfect haircut, confident smile. But something had changed. Or maybe she had changed, because instead of butterflies, she felt nothing but curiosity. Naomi. He pulled out her chair like he always used to. You look incredible. Thank you. He sat across from her and studied her face. Marriage agrees with you. It does. Damon leaned forward, his voice dropping into something more intimate. I made a mistake, Naomi. A huge mistake. Renee and I. It was never real. I was trying to fill a void that only you could fill. Naomi listened. She waited for the satisfaction, the vindication, the rush of knowing that her plan had worked perfectly. It never came, because while Damon spoke, she noticed things she had somehow missed before. The way he centered every sentence on himself. The way his apology was actually a list of excuses. The way he looked at her, like she was something to be won, rather than someone to be known. I have been thinking about you constantly, he continued. About us. About what we could still be, if you gave me another chance. Naomi thought about another man. A man who never made grand declarations, but showed up consistently. A man who remembered her favorite tea and left encouraging texts, and held her through the darkest night of her life, without expecting anything in return. Marcus asked about her day. Marcus celebrated her wins, without making them about himself. Marcus saw her, truly saw her, in ways Damon never had. I have to go, Naomi said suddenly. Damon blinked. What? We just started. I know. But I have somewhere I need to be. She left, before he could respond. Her heart was pounding, but not from seeing Damon. From clarity that struck like lightning. She had been looking at everything wrong. That night, Naomi could not sleep. She lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every moment of the past 2 months. Marcus adjusting his schedule so they could have dinner together. Marcus learning her coffee order, even though he did not drink coffee. Marcus stepping back when Damon texted because he would never force her to choose him. She got up and wandered to the living room. Marcus had fallen asleep on the couch again, his laptop still open to game footage. His face was soft in sleep, unguarded in a way he never allowed while awake. Naomi pulled a blanket from the closet and draped it over him. Her hand lingered on his shoulder longer than necessary. She felt the warmth of him through the fabric, the steady rise and fall of his breathing. When did this stop being a game? She whispered to herself. She already knew the answer. It had stopped being a game a long time ago. Maybe it had never been a game at all. Maybe her heart had recognized something her mind refused to accept. The man she was pretending to love was the man she had actually been falling for all along. Now here is my question for you. Have you ever realized your feelings for someone only after it was almost too late? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your stories. 2 weeks later, Marcus's youth basketball team won the regional championship. Naomi surprised him by showing up at the game, sitting in the front row with a homemade sign that read, Coach Webb's #1 fan. She watched him on the sidelines, patient and encouraging with every player. When a kid missed an easy shot, Marcus did not yell. He knelt down, spoke quietly, and sent the boy back with renewed confidence. When the final buzzer sounded and his team had won, he was the last one to celebrate, because he was too busy hugging each player individually. This was who Marcus was, a man who poured himself into others without asking for recognition, a man who built people up rather than tearing them down. A man who loved quietly but deeply. After the celebration died down, Marcus found her in the crowd. His face was lit up with joy, and when their eyes met, something electric passed between them. He walked toward her. The noise of the gym faded. Naomi's heart hammered against her ribs. "You came," he said. "Of course I came. This mattered to you." He stepped closer, close enough that she could smell his cologne mixed with the energy of the game. Close enough that she had to tilt her head back to meet his eyes. Naomi. The way he said her name made her breath catch. He leaned in. Time slowed. She could feel his warmth, could see the question in his eyes. He was going to kiss her. Finally, after 10 years of friendship and 2 months of marriage, he was going to kiss her. And then he stopped. He pulled back, and the moment shattered. "We should get dinner," he said. "Celebrate the win." He turned and walked toward the locker room, leaving Naomi standing there with her heart in her throat and a new kind of ache spreading through her chest. Why had he stopped? What was he afraid of? What was she afraid of? The answer came 3 days later, when Damon Pierce made his final move. He showed up at Naomi's office with flowers, 24 roses, red as blood, delivered personally to her desk while her colleagues watched and whispered. "I need to talk to you," he said loudly enough for everyone to hear. "Dinner tonight, for old time's sake." Naomi felt trapped. Everyone was staring. The roses were overwhelming her desk. Damon stood there with that confident smile, certain she would say yes because she always used to say yes. She was about to decline when he leaned closer and dropped his voice. "I know this marriage is not real. Marcus told me everything." Naomi's stomach dropped. "What?" "He told me the whole arrangement. How you two are just friends, pretending. How it ends after a year. He said he thought I should know the truth." Naomi stared at him. Something was wrong. Something was very wrong. Marcus would never betray her like that. Marcus would never share their private arrangement with the man who had hurt her. Unless Damon was lying. Unless this was manipulation, designed to create doubt and drive a wedge between her and her husband. "I will think about it," she said flatly. "Now please leave my office." Damon smiled, like he had already won. "I will pick you up at 7. He left the roses and walked out, leaving Naomi surrounded by whispers and suspicion and a terrible anger building in her chest. That night, she confronted Marcus the moment she walked through the door. "Did you tell Damon about us?" Marcus looked up from the stove, where he had been preparing dinner again. "What?" "He showed up at my office today. He said you told him our marriage was fake. That you told him everything." The hurt on Marcus's face was immediate and devastating. His hands went still. His shoulders dropped. "You really think I would do that?" "I do not know what to think anymore." Silence stretched between them, heavy and painful. Then Marcus spoke, and his voice was different. Raw, tired. "I have done everything to make this easier for you, Naomi. I've cooked and cleaned and supported and listened. I've loved you for 10 years without asking for anything in return. And you still do not see me." The confession hung in the air between them. "I have loved you for 10 years. Naomi opened her mouth to respond, but Marcus was already grabbing his keys. "I need some air." The door closed behind him, and Naomi stood alone in the kitchen that smelled like dinner for two, surrounded by evidence of a love she had been too blind to see. She did not sleep that night. She sat in the living room, replaying their history like a movie. Marcus showing up at her dorm room during finals week, with snacks and study playlists. Marcus driving 4 hours to help her move into her first apartment after college. Marcus holding her hand through her grandmother's funeral. Marcus building her a bookshelf when she could not afford furniture. Marcus calling every Sunday night, even when they lived in different cities. Marcus never dating seriously. Marcus always available when she needed him. Marcus waiting. She had thought it was just friendship. She had thought he was simply a loyal person. But looking back now, she could see the pattern so clearly it hurt. He had loved her for a decade, without ever asking for more than she was willing to give. And she had married him as part of a petty revenge scheme, without ever considering what that might cost him. She called her mother at 6 a.m. "I messed up, Mama." Her mother's voice was calm, unsurprised. "Tell me." Naomi told her everything. The arrangement, the revenge plan, Marcus's confession, her own confusion. When she finished, her mother was quiet for a long moment. "Baby, some men will give you the moon because they want you to need them. Damon was like that. He wanted you dependent, grateful, small." She paused. "But Marcus gives you the moon because he wants you to have it. He does not care if you need him. He just wants you to shine. There is a difference." Naomi closed her eyes as tears slid down her cheeks. "What do I do, Mama?" "You know what to do. The question is whether you are brave enough to do it." 3 days later, Naomi received an invitation to Damon and Renee's engagement party. Apparently they were back together, or still together, or whatever game Damon was playing this week. He had handwritten a note on the invitation. "Hope to see you there. Bring Marcus if you want, or don't." Naomi stared at the invitation for a long time. Then she RSVP'd. Yes. She went alone. The party was at a rooftop venue downtown. Crystal chandeliers and champagne towers and beautiful people in designer clothes. Naomi wore a simple black dress and felt completely out of place. She found Damon near the bar, accepting congratulations from guests who probably knew their relationship was as hollow as her original marriage had been. "Naomi," he said when he saw her. His smile was triumphant. "You came." "I came to say goodbye, Damon." His smile faltered. "What?" "I am not here for you. I'm not here to make you jealous, or to win you back, or to play whatever game you think this is." She stepped closer, her voice steady and clear. "I spent 2 years trying to be enough for you, shrinking myself, performing, believing that your approval meant I was worthy of love." She shook her head. "But I was wrong. You never loved me. You loved having me. There is a difference." Damon's expression hardened. "So you are choosing him, the basketball coach." "I am choosing myself," Naomi said. "And yes, I am choosing him, because he never made me feel like I had to earn his love. He just gave it freely, without conditions." She turned to leave, then paused. "I hope you find what you are looking for, Damon. I really do. But it will not be me. Not anymore." She walked out of the party without looking back. The night air was cool on her skin, and for the first time in months, she felt free. But she still had one more thing to do. She found Marcus at the community center at 2 a.m. His assistant coach had told her what happened. A pipe had burst, flooding the gym where his youth team practiced. Marcus had been there for hours, trying to salvage equipment and dry the floors. Naomi drove across town in her party dress and heels. She pushed through the doors to find him exhausted and soaked, still working, even though it was clearly hopeless. She did not announce herself. She simply grabbed a mop and started helping. Marcus looked up, startled. "Naomi, what are you doing here?" "Helping," she said simply. They worked in silence for almost an hour. Gradually, the water receded, and the equipment was stacked safely in dry corners. When there was nothing left to do, they stood in the middle of the damp gym, both exhausted, both dripping. "Why are you here?" Marcus asked quietly. "Because this is where you are," Naomi said. "And wherever you are is where I want to be." His expression shifted, guarded, hoping, but afraid to hope. Naomi took a breath. I was blind, Marcus. For 10 years, I was looking for love in all the wrong places, trying to earn something that should have been freely given. And the whole time, you were right beside me, loving me, without conditions, showing up, without expectations, being exactly what I needed without ever asking for credit. Her voice cracked. I am sorry it took me so long to see what was right in front of me. I am sorry I used you for revenge when you deserved so much more. I am sorry I made you feel invisible when you are the most real person I have ever known. Marcus was quiet. His eyes were unreadable. How do I know this is real? He asked. How do I know this is not just another move, another game? Naomi stepped closer. You do not know, she admitted, and I cannot promise I will not make more mistakes. But I'm asking you to let me prove it. Not for a year. Not for convenience. She reached up and touched his face. For the rest of our lives. Marcus closed his eyes. She could feel him trembling beneath her fingers. All those years of waiting, of hoping, of loving from a distance. All of it hanging on this moment. Then he opened his eyes, and she saw everything. Every fear. Every hope. Every year of patient, faithful love. Say it again, he whispered. I love you, Marcus Webb. I love you. For real. And I want this marriage to be real too. He kissed her then. Finally. After 10 years of friendship, and 3 months of pretending, and 1 perfect moment of truth, he kissed her like she was precious, like she was home, like he had been waiting his entire life for this exact moment. And maybe he had. If this story is hitting you in the heart, share it with someone who needs to believe in love today. And drop a comment. I want to know if you saw this coming. 6 months later. The venue was small, intimate, filled with people who actually loved them. Naomi stood in the bridal suite again. But everything was different this time. She was not calculating. She was not performing. She was simply happy. Her mother helped her adjust her veil. Her sister dabbed at tears. Her best friend from college kept threatening to ruin her makeup by making her laugh. You ready? Her mother asked. I have never been more ready for anything in my life. The ceremony was beautiful. Marcus's youth team sat in the front row, scrubbed clean and wearing matching ties. His grandmother had flown in from Florida. Her entire family was there, even the cousins she only saw at reunions. When Marcus saw her walk down the aisle, his eyes filled with tears. He did not try to hide them. They wrote their own vows. Marcus spoke first, his voice steady despite the emotion on his face. Naomi, I spent 10 years loving you from a distance, watching you shine, hoping that someday you would see me. But even if you never had, I would have kept loving you, because loving you taught me who I wanted to be. Patient, faithful, present. He reached for her hands. I did not marry you to save you. I married you because being with you makes me the best version of myself. And I will spend the rest of my life making sure you know how seen, how valued, how loved you truly are. Naomi was crying before she even started speaking. Marcus, I married you to make someone jealous. I know that sounds terrible, because it was terrible. I was so focused on being chosen that I forgot to notice who was already choosing me. Every day, every moment, without conditions. She squeezed his hands. But here is what I want you to know. I'm not staying because of guilt. I am not staying because it is convenient. I am staying because you showed me what real love looks like, and I do not ever want to live without it again. She smiled through her tears. Every detour, every mistake, every wrong turn, it all led me here, to you. And I would do it all again, if it meant ending up exactly where I am right now. The officiant pronounced them married. Again. For real. This time. When Marcus kissed her, the youth team erupted in cheers. Her mother cried. His grandmother shouted something that made everyone laugh. And Naomi realized that this was what she had been searching for all along. Not someone who chose her for show, but someone who chose her completely. Someone who saw all of her and loved all of her and would keep choosing her for the rest of their lives. The reception was chaos in the best way. Kids running everywhere. Old aunties giving unsolicited marriage advice. Her father-in-law telling embarrassing stories about Marcus as a child. During their first dance, Marcus pulled her close. So, he whispered, was this worth it? Naomi looked up at him, at his kind eyes and gentle smile and hands that had held her through grief and joy and everything in between. Every single detour led me here, she said. So yes, every moment was worth it. He kissed her forehead. Even the revenge plot. She laughed. Especially the revenge plot. It brought me you. They swayed together in the middle of the dance floor, surrounded by everyone they loved, completely certain that they were exactly where they belonged. And somewhere across town, Damon Pierce scrolled through Instagram and saw their wedding photos. He stared at Naomi's smile, the real one, the one she had never given him. Then he kept scrolling, because some people never learn what love really means. But Naomi had learned, and she would never forget it again.